So, Dave Schoenfeld on ESPN, potential MLB trade proposals. Okay? So he puts together proposals. One is to trade to pry Ronald Acuna Jr. out of Atlanta.
Jeez.
One is to pry Byron Buxton out of the Twins.
Wow.
And one is to pry Paul Skeens out of Pittsburgh.
All right. What is this? Who does this?
Dave Schoenfeld of ESPN posted this today.
Mm-hmm.
And he writes, Skeens is a pitcher, and pitchers get hurt. So if the Pirates are open to listening, ...
They're not, but go ahead.
And he writes 3 trade proposals. The Mets offer shortstop center fielder Jet Williams, number 20 on the baseball top 100 prospects. Right-hand pitcher Jonah Tong, number 50. Right-hand pitcher Nola McLean, infielder Ronnie Mercurio, and outfielder Carson Bench.
That's what, 5 players?
Yep.
5 prospects, and a couple of them are top 50.
Yep, and some players.
Mm-hmm.
Dodgers offer catcher outfielder Dalton Rushing, outfielder Jose De Paula, infielder Alex Freeland. By the way, that's number 14 and number 17. Alex Freeland. Right-hand pitcher Emmett Sheehan, and left-hand pitcher Jackson Ferris.
So a couple of top 20s and other players.
The Tigers offer Max Clark,
Mm-hmm.
Kevin McGonigal,
So 2 top 15. Yeah.
number 8, number 11.
Yeah.
Right-hand pitcher Jackson Jobe.
Oh, boy. Who's no longer on that list because he's already matriculated, but yeah.
Infielder Colt Keith.
Oh, wow.
And right-hand pitcher Sawyer Gibson Long.
But that's the kind of move that would make Pittsburgh go, huh, right?
Well, then he writes, one of these deals could get it done.
All right, I'm going to try to play the role of Pittsburgh without knowing much about the other 2 offers. I'm just going to look at the Tigers' offer. And if you were to look at, okay, well, the top prospects, right? With the Tigers' 2 prospects are ranked higher than the 2 prospects that the other 2 teams offered. So given that, I'm looking at it this way. So you would get the Tigers' top 2 prospects, really their top 3 prospects, because a year ago, Jackson Jobe was like the number 1 prospect in all of baseball. But because he ended up pitching with the Tigers last year and started this year on the roster, he's no longer eligible to be on that list. So effectively, it's their top 3 players in the organization. In addition to Colt Keith, who we talked a little bit about last hour, about how good he has been since May and how on the season he's raised his OPS up to 779. He's on a 2-month plus heater here. And he's also very young and on a very team-friendly contract. So those 4 players plus Sawyer Gibson Long, who feels like that's just a throw-in at this point. If I'm Pittsburgh, is that enough? It's a lot of hitting and the promise of one pitcher who has not pitched well in the majors, but he's got a ton of talent in Jackson Jobe. Might be asking for a little bit more on the pitching end if I was Pittsburgh, even though you'd be getting what they're offering from the hitting standpoint. Those 3 players, and Jackson Jobe, if I were Pittsburgh, I would say that's a good start, a really good start. We can have this conversation, but give me somebody else. Ask for Troy Melton over Sawyer Gibson Long.
He writes, the one deal that could get it done is the Tigers deal. A playoff rotation with Skeens and Tarek Skubal. Thank you very much. Reminder, the Tigers have won a World Series since '84. It will take one of the best farm systems in the sport to acquire Skeens, and Detroit is incredibly well positioned to make that kind of deal with depth at both the major league and minor league levels, not to mention a payroll with only one expensive long-term commitment in Javi Baez. 2 of the top prospects in the sport, and Clark and McGonigal, headline a trade. He goes on about what great players they are. And then he says, for the Tigers, this deal wouldn't even decimate their farm system. They still have a shortstop in Bryce Rayner. They got a first baseman catcher in Jose Briseño and a slew of other solid pitching prospects. For the Pirates, Clark and McGonigal project as solutions at 2 problem areas, center field and shortstop. Plus, they get a solid major leaguer in Keith and back end of the rotation guy in Gibson Long. I mean, I'll just say this, okay? Because it was written today, we bring it up.
Thank you.
Do I think there's a chance in hell that Pittsburgh's going to move Paul Skeens? I don't. And if I were a general manager of a team like Detroit, and I saw this, I would want to shoot Dave Schoenfeld out of a cannon because I think these types of stories do damage, because if they don't win a World Series, people will say it's Scott Harris's fault because he didn't trade for Paul Skeens. Right. And I know that these baseball guys, this story's probably going to get 1 million clicks for Dave Schoenfeld. It's probably going to get 1 million eyeballs will be all over this because it's got a Mets fan base looking at it. It's got a Dodgers fan base looking at it. Not to mention, he's got trades for Buxton and Acuna and trade offers. Philly getting Byron Buxton. Now, their whole fan base is going to click on it, and everybody's going to click on it and read it. And it's probable fantasy. And so if I were a GM in Detroit or Philly or any of these towns, I'd be like, oh, God. Because, now maybe you shouldn't care. I guess if I were a GM, I probably wouldn't care. But
it just makes your life a living hell on social media and on sports radio.
Until somebody reports that, yes, Pittsburgh is actively listening and willing to move Paul Skeens, I refuse to believe it. A pitcher that good under club control for that long is unfathomably untradeable, in my opinion. But
I don't doubt that in a few years Paul Skeens could be traded from Pittsburgh. There's no point in Pittsburgh trading him now. He's still going to be incredibly valuable a few years from now. There's no reason to have to trade him at this point. But he wrote the article, whatever. I give you my thought on it. If that's it, I mean, would that offer from the Tigers? That's if I was the GM of Pittsburgh. Would I do that? If you're Scott Harris, what would compel you to do that right now? Because you'd have the 1-2 combo that is unbeatable.
The hard
the
part,
two best pitchers in baseball would be on your team, but you would have them for the rest of this year and then all of next year.
And then you'd have Skeens in a vapor of Skubal if he leaves.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing about it. If you're Detroit, the hesitation is only over Colt Keith. That's the only hesitation. I would say, would you prefer any other? Go ahead and take Bryce Rayner too. Like I'm, because you're trying to win a World Series now. If you get rid of Colt Keith, it feels like you've created a bit of a hole in the lineup with a very productive player, and yet you'd have this unbelievable 1-2. It'd be like having Aiden Hutchinson and Max Crosby. It'd be just like that. I mean, it really would. It'd be like having this amazing 1-2 when most people are happy to have one, and let's hoard them and get two. It's probable fantasy.
Be like having Verlander and Scherzer.
Yeah.
Well, and they didn't win. Not saying this wouldn't. Look, I love Paul Skeens. I'd love to have him. And you're right. Something like this hurts you at one position. But the Tigers have the players that they can absorb that. And yes, he's right. They do have a organization that is chock full of more prospects at other positions, and they wouldn't be depleting it. They would certainly you take a few away, but they've got a lot. They are working with a lot. But if you're working with a lot, do you just want to get one player in return? Like if the Tigers just are they going to give up 5 guys or 4 or 5 guys to get one? That doesn't sound like it's kind of math
they're giving
that they
up.
want to do.
Yeah, I mean, in their organization,
yeah,
they're at the major league level, they're giving up 2 guys to get one.
Yes,
but we're talking about it because it's there.
Because it's there.
Because it's
Not
there.
That I believe it, and I don't believe it. So they didn't list the Tigers as options for Acuna or
no.
Okay.
Brewers, Seattle, and Tampa for Acuna. Buxton, it was Philly, Cincinnati, and Kansas City. Let me be clear too. These aren't rumors.
No.
This is one reporter coming up with trades that he think would make these teams think about moving their stars.
This is a clickbait article that says, "Hey, let's have some fantasy."
So what did I just do? I clicked. I've been baited.
Yeah.
248-539-9797. It's Karsch and Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket.